This being my first year, I have to say that I'm really pleased with the way things turned out on all three levels. Our freshman team accumulated a record of 6-2 this year. They had a great year, and they have as much talent as I've ever seen in a freshman. You can stay together, keep working both in the classroom and on the field. By the time you're up on the varsity, there's no telling how far you guys can go. So it's up to you guys. Sophomores finished strong this year with 2 wins at the end of the season. Finished with a 3-6-1 record and really came on strong at the end. And the one thing that I saw from watching them is that they came on and they showed improvement every game. The great thing about that was that I think they saw that with a little extra effort or play here and there, they could have easily won 6 or 7 games. And I think that's going to help them next year when you guys come up to varsity. And you'll know that the difference between winning and losing a game might be 1 or 2 plays. So congratulations to the sophomores. And the varsity, the kids that I'm especially proud of because I got to work with them, had an outstanding year. They finished 7-5, and the accomplishments that I'm going to read, everybody knows about, and you really have to appreciate it because of where we came from. Like I've been telling them all year, we started out, we were 0-3, and the way they hung in there, the way they fought back, is something that they can use in any area of their life. Because when things get tough, they can draw on this experience. 1989 Pattonville high school football team did. The varsity won the district championship with a 3-0 record. Varsity came back in the sectional game and beat a very good Parkway North team, 21-7 in the sectional game. And again, going back to where we started, 0-3, I can appreciate for being, and the players can appreciate where they came from, where they ended up, the success that they had came because of their hard work ethic and determination and the desire that they showed. So that kind of recaps the season. I just want to make the point that the successes that we had on all 3 levels are a tribute to you guys, the players. Okay? We can get up and coach it, but you guys are the ones that get it done. So again, congratulations to you guys. Again, we started out 0-3. To come on and win 7 out of our last 8 games before last night. We tied the school record for the most wins in the history of the school with 7. The last team to do that was 1974. We won the district championship with 3 straight wins. We won the sectional championship with the win over Parkway North, 21-7. We finished 3rd in the Suburban North Conference, and that's the first time Pattonville's done that in a long time. And we knocked on the door this year. Next year we're going back to it. We had a lot of individual awards. We had 4 players in this room tonight that were voted first team all conference. We had 2 players that were voted second team all conference. And 5 of our athletes were voted honorable mention all conference. The story of the 1989 varsity football team, this was a total team effort. And every one of you on the varsity team were a part of it. Whether you played every play or whether you only got in there 1 or 2 plays, you meant as much to our success as anybody. Because every one of you in here made the same sacrifice, the same dedication to get the job done. You all paid the same price, and you should be proud of that. The same commitment, the same sacrifice, and that's what makes us a team. Okay, the way I'm going to start it off tonight, I want to introduce my coaching staff on the varsity level. Being my first year as a head coach, I feel very fortunate to have these people working with me. I consider them not only my coaching staff but my friends. I have a lot of experience. I have a lot of people giving me direction, because at times when you try to handle the whole thing by yourself, things can cloud up, and that's why they're there, to steer me straight, hopefully. I'm going to introduce my coaches. First one is Coach Larry Jeffrey. Coach Jeffrey got Coach Beardsley. He's been here since 1969. And I know when I was a player in the suburban north of Riverview, Coach Jeffries was coaching against me, and Coach Beard also. Coach has got a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge, and I've learned a lot myself from him, and I'm still learning. He handled our defense, and he did a great job. We had a defense that, after the first 3 games, went from giving up 28 points a game down to 9 points a game. And he was a big part of that. My second coach is Coach John Hamilton. Coach Hamilton's been at Pattonville for a long time too, but he wouldn't tell me when he got here, so it's a secret. 71. Coach Hamilton, same story. He offers a lot of experience to the staff. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's got a lot of experience both playing and coaching, and he gave a lot to the program. Coach Hamilton coached the defense, the offensive backs, handled the special teams, and gave advice, as we all did, in any area when it was needed. He gave us a lot of stability. He was kind of the level-headed one of the group. When things got kind of crazy, he was there to kind of calm things down. And I appreciate his efforts this year. And my last coach is Coach Jeff Cross. Coach Cross joined us from the sophomore team last year. He came up and coached the offensive line, worked with the defensive line, and helped me with the offense. Again, I learned a lot from him. He's got a lot of insights and a lot of ideas, especially on the offensive side of the ball, that's really worth paying attention to, and he gave a lot to the whole coaching staff. So I appreciate, again, all 3 of these guys. Like I said, they were a big help both coaching, and I consider them friends too. They're there to help out in football or whatever I need. So again, you did a great job. I appreciate that. We're going to move on now. I'm going to hand out the letters. We're going to handle it the same way. I'm going to announce each player, and then you'll come up and we'll award you your letter. I want to explain to you, everybody in here, what the letter is a symbol of. Okay, this is the P that you'll be receiving. Okay, this is a symbol that you'll get that recognizes your efforts and your hard work during the season. Tougher than the injury suffered. But the thing about him, he came back, rehabilitated his knee, and came back and contributed to the team, and I'm proud of him for that. And that's Danny Fenner. And someone at wide receiver. He had a big year, made a lot of big plays for us, and that's James Norman. As you guys come up through the program, you get the recognition, sophomores included, of being all conference, of being able to win a district championship, of getting all the extras. But these guys have paid the price. They were where you were at 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So they've come down that long road. They've paid the price. They've done the things that they needed to do to get to this night. And that's why we like to do, that's why I like to do a lot of extra things for them. That's why we brought the poster back this year. Again, that's going to serve as a symbol to any 4-year player in the program, any letterman in the program. That's something for you younger guys to shoot for. Okay, moving along, I'm going to recognize our team captains for 1989. This year we had kind of a unique situation where I picked 7 players to captain our squad. The reason I did that, because I thought they were all deserving. They all showed a lot of leadership in 2 days. They all showed a lot of leadership in the pre-camp, in the weight room, all through the year. And I thought that because of their work habits, that they all needed to be captains. Not only did they help us as a team on the field, they helped us as a team off the field. I'd like to think that I communicate, and all the coaches communicate with the players fairly well, and they keep us informed of any problems that are going on in order that we can straighten them out. So again, they were a big help during the good times when we were winning and during the bad times when we were struggling. They held us together. And that's why they are leaders, and that's why they're voted captains. So I want to recognize these guys. Come on up. We got a plaque for you signifying. The first guy was a junior. The reason I made him a captain again, and he had the same qualities that the other guys showed. He was our leader on the field. When things were going bad early in the season, he was the guy trying to keep everybody going. He was the guy being the quarterback that the rest of the offense looks to. And he was there and he showed that leadership. And that's Brian Schuler. The next captain was a senior. Again, he struggled early in the season with some injuries, but he came on and had a fine year, and that's Andre Reese. Our third captain, again, our tailback, did a great job, had an outstanding year. That's Marvin Richardson. Our fourth captain was our offensive tackle and our defensive tackle. And this is, again, an example of a guy that led by his play on the field. It was outstanding, and that's Matt Whitlow. Our fifth captain was an offensive lineman or offensive guard and filled in the defensive line. Did a great job for us, kept us going, and that was Kenny Davis. Our next captain was our linebacker. Again, he was a two-year starter. He was a two-year captain, so to speak, of our defense that called the plays and made things happen for us. And that's Rob McDonough. And our last captain was our defensive end, who also played tight end, fullback, special teams, and did it all for us. And that's Wayne Costello. Okay, and then those are your 1989 varsity Pattonville football captains. Here it is probably one of the more important awards because it signifies a lot of the achievement and a lot of the struggle that the individual had to get to the point where he ended up, and that's the Most Improved Award. This goes to a guy that came a long way this year. He developed into a two-way player for us. He was a steady, consistent player that developed into an outstanding player by years in. As a sophomore, this young man didn't start all the time. But again, through a lot of hard work in the off-season, during 2 days, he developed into a fine player and filled a big hole in our offensive line. And this award for Most Improved goes to John Foley. Congratulations. Okay, the next award is a new award that I'm bringing into the program with me, and I'm going to simply call it the Senior Award. This award is going to signify a senior that comes on after his junior year and contributes in a big one, okay? This award tonight, this senior award, is going to go to a player that could have been discouraged as a junior. He had a tough junior year, he had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but he hung in there. And he became a great player for us this year and filled a lot of holes for us wherever we needed him. He also received recognition not only from this coaching staff, but by the other coaching staffs around the conference for his play this year by being voted conference honors. And this player goes to, or this award goes to Kenny White. And I want to say as he's coming up again to the sophomores, the juniors, and the freshmen, that this guy can be an example to all of you, okay? When you feel that you're not achieving as much as you would like to, or you're not getting the time to play that you'd like to, you can go two ways. And such as in life, you can either give up or you can keep going. And then when you keep going, you overcome a lot of things. And that's what he did again. Okay, next award that I want to present, we're going to title this also the Coach's Award. Okay, this award goes to players in this case, that not only showed outstanding play on the field, but was the ultimate team player and put the team, the good of the team, ahead of his own success. Okay, these players also showed great leadership for us on and off the field. These players not only worked hard on the field, but they worked hard during the offseason. They did the extras that it took to make us the successful team that we were. So basically, I guess what I'm saying, these players made the overall commitment. And the overall commitment made us successful as a team this year. And these awards, the Coaches Awards, first one goes to Rob McDonough. And the second Coaches Award goes to Kenny Davis. Okay, those are our Coaches Award winners. Congratulations, guys. Okay, now we're going to get into the Most Valuable Player Awards by segments. After a lot of discussion among all the coaches, we came up with the following people. It wasn't easy to do. We had a lot of people that did a lot of great things, and it's hard to do. But we came up with some guys that are deserving of the recognition. The first Most Valuable Player Award is going to go to the Outstanding Offensive Lineman. This guy here, again, last year as an assistant coach, I had the pleasure of working with individually on a daily basis. Being a former offensive lineman myself, I see a lot of outstanding qualities in this young man. It's going to make him not only the great high school player that he was, but his best days are ahead of him. He was a 3-year starter at Pattonville on the varsity level. Like I mentioned, 2 of which I had the pleasure of working with him. He had a great year, and he had a great career. Over the past year, he dominated his opponents and was definitely the dominant force on our offensive line. He made things happen up front for us. And like I mentioned, I think this player's best days in football are ahead of him. It's all up to him, and this goes to Matt Whitwell. Thanks very much. Okay, moving along, the most valuable player, offensive receiver. Okay, again, this award goes to a young man this year that I feel at times carried the offense. Okay, he has a knack for getting open and making the big play when we need it. A lot of people come up with the big plays, but there's a handful of people that make the big plays during the important time of the game, and that's the quality that he possesses. He set a school record this year for the most receptions with 46. And that's something that you have to appreciate because he did it all from a tight end position. Again, the tight end has to concentrate not only on catching the ball, but also on his blocking, where he proved to be a solid blocker for us. This young man's a junior and is already an excellent player, but I know with him again that his best football is in front of him. And this award goes to Mike Tarpey, most valuable offensive receiver. There, the linebacker spot. Okay, the player receiving this award tonight, this goes to a young man that led our team in tackles this year. He was definitely a force for us inside and was no doubt our inspirational leader on defense. He set a school record this year for the most tackles, for the most valuable defensive back. This award goes to a young man who's a 2-year starter for us. He led our secondary in tackles this season and interceptions. There's no doubt he was all over the field defensively. He'd come up and play the pass, or come up and play the run, and play the pass equally as well. He ended the season on a great note in our final game with an 82-yard kickoff return. He had a touchdown of 75 yards against Francis Howe in a 10-7 victory over an undefeated team. He had 4 receptions, totaling 142 yards on the offensive side of the ball and 2 touchdowns. Not to take away what he did at defensive back, but I'm making the point that he did it all for us also. With 5 interceptions, leading our defensive secondary in tackles, this award goes to Cleveland Little. Most valuable player award goes to the most valuable defensive lineman. Okay, I can probably stand up here and talk all night about him, and maybe I will. But a lot of you in here know the story of this young man and what he's done and what he's overcome, again, to get to the point where he's at tonight. I want all you younger guys to pay attention to this, because you can learn something here about desire, something about overcoming, dedicating yourself to something, being determined. Like I've said before, there's a lot of great players. There's a lot of guys that get all the tools. They have the 4 or 5 speed, big body, and they got it all going for them, but never produce. You got those great players, and then you got the players that play great. And they're the guys that don't have maybe all the physical ability in the world, but they have that heart. And that can take you further in anything you do and anything you want to try on. And that's what this guy did. I'm going to read to you some of his accomplishments. First of all, I'm going to tell you how I feel about this. I feel that this guy's the best defensive end anywhere in the city, in the state for that matter. Again, his story is incredible. After suffering an injury in summer practices, he gave it away. Wayne was diagnosed with a bone chip and ligament damage in his elbow, which was going to require surgery and end his senior season before it began. After sitting out a couple of games, he came back on his own accord. Again, not to be a hero, not to prove anything, just because he enjoyed the game, and turned in one outstanding performance after another. After a September 30th matchup against McClure, Wayne was named the Post-Dispatch Player of the Week for his effort, which included 6 solo tackles, 10 assists, 6 of those for negative yardage, a blocked punt, a blocked pass, 4 quarterback pressures, a safety for 2 points, and a tackle that caused a fumble, which resulted in a touchdown during that play. For some people, that's a career. He did it in an afternoon. During the season, Wayne blocked 2 punts recovered 2 fumbles, lost 3 more, had 5 quarterback sacks, and upon his return in the 4th game, led a defense that was giving up 28 points a game down to 9 points a game. On a team during that time that he came back and won 7 out of their last 8 games after starting 0-3. He was our defensive captain. He filled in at fullback during short yardage situations. And again, it would be hard to describe it unless you were there to see the type of big player that he was. There's guys that make big plays, and there's guys that make the big plays when you need them. And Wayne came up with them consistently during big periods, during big games. Okay, to me, he's definitely Pattonville's most valuable defensive player in a year in which we won our district championship and a sectional playoff game. I just want to make the point again, being involved in football, both as a player and as a coach, as long as I have, I've very seldom seen a player that has meant as much to a ball club as Wayne has to ours. Not only through his play, but he also picked up the level of everybody else throughout the season. I think he's shown not only athletic excellence in football, but he's also showed a lot of courage, and he needs to be recognized for that. He deserves this extra mention tonight because of the extra effort he gave us. And I'm extremely proud of him. He's our most valuable defensive lineman, Wayne Costello. Goes to a young man again that I talked about earlier. I didn't know him before this summer. I was out lifting, helping out in the weight room with the players. One day during the summer, he was standing up there around the fence, and we got talking a little bit, and he expressed an interest in coming out and kicking for us. He's been a soccer player for the last 4 years here at Banquet, and he had never kicked a football before this year. Let me tell you a little bit about what he's meant to this team. Coming into the season, we didn't have a kicker. We didn't have a place kicker. So he gave us that right off the bat. So what I had told him going into the season, Denny, I'll never put any pressure on you to make an extra point or a field goal. You go out there, relax, because we wouldn't have made it anyway. Sheila down there growling. Okay, but seriously now, anyway, here's a little bit of what Denny did for us this year. Going into the 4th game of the year, after being 0-3, like I mentioned, a lot of you saw our triple overtime game against SLU. We kept going back and forth, scoring on each other. And I kept thinking, I'm going to let you know now, Denny, oh my God, we got this soccer player, I hope he comes through with this. And he went out there all calm and collected, like no big deal, made the extra point, 2 extra points, made a field goal, and earlier in the game, when our offensive line got lazy and didn't cover a field goal, he came down and made a game-saving tackle for us. He made all those kicks in overtime with a banged-up shoulder. During the district play, we beat Francis Howell 10-7. His field goal, his extra point made the difference. We beat Rickner 7-6. That extra point looks pretty big now. We beat Hazelwood West 20-19. They didn't convert on their extra point. We did. There's the difference. We come along in the 11th week of the season, and I see him one day in the cafeteria and say, Denny, guess what? You're going to punt for us this week. That's a lot of pressure for somebody that's not used to it, especially going into the biggest game of the year. He went back there, averaged over 35 yards a punt, had no problem at all. This was a young man that was involved in 2 district championships, not only in football, but also in soccer. It was a big part of both of them. He can be proud for their efforts. The first one was Rob McDonough, second team senior linebacker. That's Rob's second year being recognized on the all-conference team. The next guy is a junior. I've got some people that I want to thank. Again, this is my first year in the program. I thought I knew what it was all about going into it. I know my at the end of the program, being a head coach in a big program in a big school, I sat out all day and I thought everybody I needed to thank. And I hope I come up with everybody's name. And if I didn't, that doesn't mean that you're any less important to the success we've had, because we appreciate everything that everybody does for us in this room. First person that I want to acknowledge was our trainer this year, our manager. We were up there in August, 4 coaches that had to plan a practice, that had to get the water together, that had to get the bags out, set the sled up, and do all them extra things. And quite frankly, we had a hard time doing it. So we looked for a manager. And this person was kind enough to come out and do the job for us, not only on the varsity level, but helped out at all the levels. And that's Christy Klinger. Come on up, Christy. Is a young man that came out and helped us in a big way. And a lot of you seniors that are going on to college will really appreciate what he did later on. Chris was a guy that came to each game, stayed up in the cold, stayed up in the heat, and filmed the games, looking at the game through a little lens. I know I would want to do it, but he came up and did a great job for us, filming all our games, and that's Chris Triefenbach. He couldn't make it tonight. Okay, the next 2 people that I want to recognize, 2 young men that helped us out in a big way. Okay, they were our ball boys on the sideline. They were the guy that kept the balls wiped off, kept everything in order on the sidelines for us. Not only that, they went out with us coaches on Friday nights and helped us scout. When we were drawing the plays up there, buying the hot dogs. And they were a big help. They terrorized all the different schools around the area, competing in their little tackle games behind the bleachers at every high school all through the county, and they were undefeated too, by the way. The first one that we want to recognize goes to Coach Hamilton's son, and that's Jared Hamilton. Jared Hamilton. And the second young man I want to recognize did a good job for us, couldn't be here tonight, and that's Coach Jeffrey's son, Justin, his players. Okay, before I go on, I told you I was going to do this. I want to acknowledge, I'm going to list everybody later in the program. This was a young man, I'm going to thank you again later, that helped us on the varsity level, sophomore level, freshman level, did everything from filming to whatever we needed. And again, it took a lot of the workload off the coaches and some of the players, and that's Pernell Henderson. Stand up and be recognized. Okay, now I want to acknowledge the all-conference players. Again, I believe football is a team sport, but through all athletics, individual honors do come with it. The players that receive these all-conference awards realize that these awards wouldn't be possible without their teammates. So really, as they're announced, their teammates deserve a lot of the credit that goes with their recognition. Okay, the first guy, I'm going to name our first team All-Suburban North Conference people. First guy was a tight end for us this year, and that's Mike Tarpey, a junior. Mike, come on up. That's Mike's first time. We expect it again next year. No pressure here. Okay, the second guy receiving first team as a defensive tackle. I thought he should have got it as an offensive tackle too, but being in the Suburban North, you have a lot of great players. A lot of great players and a lot of politics going into this. But this is, the first team defensive tackle goes to Matt Whitwell, a senior, deserving himself. The next first team all-conference player was a 2-year starter for us again. He was a senior. Defensive back he was elected as. He also contributed, like I mentioned earlier,